So there's a new strategy game in town, and wouldn't you know, it's all about that good old pirate life. But as most strategy games go, so too does Republic of Pirates offer mechanics that might be tough to deal with the first time around. So if you want to live the good life on the high seas and find some treasures to boot, sit back and let me lead you through Republic of Pirates' most important systems in this straight-to-the-point beginner's guide. A very special thanks goes out to my crewmates at P-Cube Games for sponsoring this video.
Tomorrow ye will get your pay, and it's time for us to leave her.
As a strategy city builder, Republic of Pirates is all about establishing a prosperous pirate haven that can stand on its own 2 feet, while also managing your fleet to either defend against or take the battle to your enemies on the high seas, or alternatively, to simply scoop up treasure that's already floating around the various islands. However, the first choice you'll have to make in this game is what kind of game you want to play. There are 2 game modes here you see, namely the campaign and the free play mode. The campaign is built around a narrative that plays out over time, where you follow the story's characters and progress the story and open up new buildings, resources, crafting and ships as you go, and as you complete various story objectives. The free play mode is technically a lot more open-ended and also has the entire map revealed right away. However, you will receive missions to complete in order to unlock new and better technology and the like, but you can do it a lot faster if you know what you're doing. And of course, skip all of those story-based sequences and cutscenes for a faster, freer experience. But no matter which of these modes you choose or in which order you choose to play them, the basics of Republic of Pirates remain the same. So no matter what you decide to do, this tutorial will be just as relevant either way. Getting your bearings in Republic of Pirates is simple, but if you don't know where to look, well, that's what I'm here for. Understanding the UI is your best friend throughout this game, and well, I don't like to brag, but I'm kind of like an expert in user interfaces, so anyway. First things first, in the top left corner is where your resources are located. Money, projected income per tick, and total amount of workers. Then we have the resources your people either need or want, the intermediate materials which are needed for other materials, the building materials, and finally the ship materials. One resource can feature in several of these, since resources are, after all, relevant for more than just one resource chain. To get a better overview though, you may click on each of these to open up their sub-menus, giving a detailed rundown of either the graphs of your income and population, or the various materials underneath each resource group. In the top center, we have our population, divided into workers, hired hands, smiths, and artisans, each one meant for different types of work, and each one absolutely crucial to you to keep your society functioning. In the top right, you may choose at which speed the game runs and or if you wish to fully pause it. Just below is where your missions and various requirements will show up as you play. In the lower left corner is our map, which you can click around on to move the camera to that location. But if you click on the map icon on the left side of the screen, or just scroll out with the mouse wheel, you can actually make it full screen, move around, get detailed information on various hotspots around the world, and even order your own fleet to other spots, simply by clicking on them, choosing which you want to select if not all of them, and then click on the designated spot. If you wish to return to the world map, simply click Escape, E, or scroll back down. Simple as. Now, the arguably most important of the UI elements is in the lower center, because this is where you find all of your buildings. Buildings representing infrastructure, needs, wants, and so on are all neatly systemized into their own categories here. And by clicking one, you'll see icons representing a full building or an icon representing a category chain shows up, allowing you to either build something directly or choose which part of the production chain you wish to put up. Since we always begin small in this game, and as a rule only really begin with a dock and perhaps a few ships if you are in free mode, it's important to set up a good foundation for future growth. You see, even though we begin with a nice purse of shiny doubloons, the projected income is not great. This is because we'll only make money from satisfied workers whose wants and needs are partially or fully met. In other words, we need to bring people to our island and keep them happy. And we do so by laying down some roads that are, and this is important, connected to the dock, since this connects it to the overarching trade system, and then build huts around the road. However, make sure to place down a marketplace as well, since this is where your people will get their necessities from. It's also important to build a woodcutter's lodge and a sawmill, as this allows you to produce planks, an important part of the construction chain of many buildings. Indeed, as you fulfill more advanced resource gatherings, reach new population milestones, or construct important buildings, you get access to new resources and buildings, which will either allow for more complex construction, or which will allow you to satisfy the needs of your population even further. However, Production and keeping an armed fleet of ships cost money, and in order to truly make it in this game, you need to keep a healthy profit, or at least balance the books. In order to make money, however, huts isn't the only thing necessary. If you click on a home, you'll see that its inhabitants are capable of producing income for you, and how many inhabitants the building can hold. In the beginning though, you won't actually be making any money, since not enough needs and wants are met. However, the most basic ones are quite easy to fill. Having a marketplace nearby, a fishing wharf, and rope will get you far. And in terms of wants, it doesn't hurt to supply some rum, or indeed a brothel with a red wall where the men can see it all. And once you've built all these, not only will more workers be tempted to settle down, but they will start generating an income as well. With the more coming in, the more satisfied they are, and the more people living in those homes. But in order to not just meet their wants and needs, but keep meeting them, you'll need to make sure their houses are connected to the market and the various amenities. You can check this by clicking on the chosen building, and then see how far the green line goes, and whether they reach your chosen building. If the green color begins to fade into yellow, or if it's not present at all, you'll know that the inhabitants of said houses are either receiving only a portion of what the market or amenities offer, or nothing at all. In some cases, you can fix this by laying down a road that cuts down the travel distance between them, essentially linking them up. But perhaps most of the time, the best way to fix this is to simply put down more markets and amenities, which allows you to supply an entirely new district with resources. As long as you also take the opportunity to lay down more houses for more income, this is a great way to expand quickly. What you always have to remember is that you can only supply so many people at once, no matter how many marketplaces you have, and they can even dry up if there is too much demand. This is why you have to make sure that your buildings are not just operating well, but that you have enough compatible workers, and understanding when expansion is in order. By clicking on a resource building, you get a bunch of important information on that building, namely how much it costs to run, how many workers it keeps, whether the building hires works autonomously and the maximum amount, the production time for one new resource produced, and the production efficiency, meaning how fast new products are made. Importantly for production, if you are running low on money, you can pause production to remove the building's upkeep indefinitely. By spending a few resources, you can increase the internal storage capacity of the building if you're producing more than your workers can distribute. And finally, you'll see which resources is turned into other resources. For example, the woodcutter turns wood logs into timber, and sawmills turn timber into planks. Likewise, sugar plantations turn sugar canes into sugar, and rum distilleries turn distilled sugar into rum. And hemp plantations turn hemp seedlings into hemp in order for the rope maker to turn hemp into rope. As you continue playing and get further into the game, you'll see how these combinations get more and more complicated. But if you keep tabs on your workers and income, you'll do just fine. That's an important piece of information, by the way, because workers come in different shapes and sizes. While the early game will see you employ laborers, later buildings will demand higher tier workers. The first of these is the hired hands pop, which is your medium tier worker and the first one you get to upgrade to. This takes us back to the population management system. Remember how needs and wants allow you to make more money off your people and will also attract more folks? Well, when your laborers' needs are met and the house is filled, you can actually upgrade their huts, which allows you to make even more money down the line, but also turns all of these laborers into hired hands. This has two immediately important consequences. The first is that you now have a new pop to manage, meaning that higher-end factories can produce things. The second is that you've actually just removed the same number of laborers from the worker pool. In other words, when upgrading huts, you must take care not to upgrade too many at once, because you risk removing too many workers, which can severely hamper your economy. The top UI helps with keeping you up to date with your worker population balance, showing how many surplus or missing pops you have compared to the factory demands. But still, while it is crucial to upgrade, not just for hired hands, but for the later tier worker pops, make sure to do so in a thoughtful way that will let your economy keep running. These are the basics of production and population management, but one last thing to consider is the viability of production on the island you're producing on. You see, each island offers various modifiers to production, meaning you'll either gain or lose efficiency depending on the island's modifiers. Some modifiers might buff woodcutter production, while others lessen your ability to mine ore or farm sugarcanes and hemp. This means that if you make sure to take the island terrain into consideration, you can create some mighty effective production chains. Great job! If you made it this far, you've absolutely got the basics down, and can more than likely take your game further. However, the other half of the Republic of Pirates coin is warfare and ship management. So let's get to that now. Building ships obviously requires a building too, namely the shipyard. A shipyard, while certainly costing a few doubloons in upkeep, is where you'll finally get to set sail and build some ships of your own. The shipyard allows you to build a number of different ships, each one in the chain demanding more and more resources to build. This means that while you'll only need 1,000 gold, some planks and basic sails to begin construction of a cog, a much heavier bark will not just demand gold, planks and sails, but manufactured cannons too. This is important because while we have already gone over planks, and while sails are basically equally simple to make, cannons actually require several production steps. You not only need charcoal and iron mixed in a blast furnace to produce steel, but need a cannon workshop to finally produce cannons. And of course, most of the buildings in this chain require hired hands to operate. However, to even begin construction of a ship, you'll need to have built a pirate's inn, which can only be placed on top of a captain's inn wreckage, which only some islands have. You may then recruit a pirate captain from one of these inns and then combine it all to finally construct your ship. The resources needed differs for every ship, of course, but the higher cost is often worth it, and you can see the stats of the different ships in the little window that pops up when you click on each of them. Managing ships is probably the things that will come easiest to most players out there, since the warfare in Republic of Pirates is mostly based on the classic RTS experience. Clicking on a ship or dragging the mouse over several will select them, and right-clicking on a destination will move them there. However, if you're struggling with the economy or just wish to top up your war chest, making use of your ships is actually a great idea. You see, there is a ton of unclaimed booty lying around the ocean, and while you could select a ship and right-click to claim it, you could always just left-click on them and the nearest ship will do the job for you. In combat, however, managing each and every ship is important, whether that means splitting up a group or keeping concentrated fire on one target. And of course, hostile ships will also drop booty, so make sure to target the weaker pirate ships in the beginning of the game. But no matter what you choose to do, you should always keep the ship's abilities in mind. And what's great about this game is that even though when you have multiple units selected at a time, the neat menu keeps all their abilities visible, meaning that you can manage each of them easily from there. Both ships and abilities vary in damage output, refresh timers, and type, so while scatter shots can do crazy things to even the odds against multiple targets, the concentrated fire of a bark or the smoke screen of a ketch are important tactical weapons. But despite having an arsenal of ships to choose from, your resources will always restrict you here as well. It's important to remember that ships also come with their own upkeep cost, which can become quite expensive quickly. At the same time, the enemy also come in many different shapes and sizes, ranging from the exact same ship types that you have available. In the beginning then, you'll do wisely to take out these smaller ships, which you can use to gather easy resources, and once you've built up a little armada of your own, perhaps try to go out in the world and conquer your next base of operations, i.e. a second or third or fourth island, and begin a new town there and produce all new resources. In terms of managing your already built ships then, it's a fairly straightforward affair, as long as you know what type of enemy you're up against and come prepared, that is. The world of Republic of Pirates is vast, however, so if you need to travel over longer distances, using the map can be your best bet. From here, you can command your fleet to go wherever you'd like, or even attack another fleet by simply clicking on them and choosing their target. You can choose one ship in a group or all of them at the same time, and then trust that they'll be on their way. But depending on your diplomatic standing with the game's various factions, you just might be attacked on the way there. You see, as you progress further into the game, diplomacy will become an important part of pirate life. The various factions will treat you differently based on your standing with them, and your standing is based on how many missions or quests you completed on their behalf, which demands you've accepted, and whether you've personally performed any hostile actions against them. In this sense, diplomacy becomes an important factor in determining how safe the high seas are, how beneficial the factions are to you, and how prone you yourself are to invasions or attacks, as these other players will try to eliminate you if you are on bad enough terms. Terms which, by the way, range between hostile, neutral, and friendly. And as such, you'll notice how ships on the map are colored differently depending on their affinity, as in this case, where red ships will actively attack you if you approach them, or where yellow ships are neutral and just sail about the map doing their thing. And if you happen to be attacked and need repairs, you can always return to port, where your ships can be repaired as long as you have the resources. And as it pertains to this beginner's guide, that's all you need to know to start your journey effectively in Republic of Pirates on a bit of an easier footing. There is much more to this game than what I've covered here, but it all relates to the same systems, only going deeper and becoming more complex. So if you understood what I covered in this tutorial, you'll do just fine as long as you remember the basics. If you have any other questions, do feel free to leave them in the comments. And as always, if you liked the video, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, thank you so much to P-Cube Games for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!